How are you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to InstaClass by Amity Online. My name is Nizam. I am the youth motivational speaker. I am an entrepreneur. I am a content creator. And today I am super excited to be here with all of you. You know, here's the thing. When I was in college, and this is the question that is asked the most, that, how do we ace an interview? Or how do we crack the best jobs? Or how do we present ourselves in such a manner that we become invincible and we leave a mark? Well, today over this quick session, we're going to talk about how to conquer every interview, every personal interview, every group discussion. So are you all excited? Super. Let's just take this ahead. So, here's something that I've seen when since I was in school, since I was in college or anywhere else, that a lot of people, in fact, a lot of you have tremendous amount of ideas, great ideas, brilliant ideas, lovely ideas, but just due to lack of proper communication, you fail to communicate that message from one point to another. And that's where you fail to knock all the opportunities coming your way. And that's why over this session today, I'm going to give you a brief framework, not any motivation, not anything else, but a brief framework where you can actually implement those while you are applying for any job or any interview across the country or beyond. And then you will be able to ace that interview if you implement that framework. Okay? All right, so let's begin. Number one. Number one point is there are three phases of an interview, mainly resume construction, a group discussion, and a personal interview. So what we're gonna do here, we're not gonna be focusing on the entire part of it, but I'm gonna start with a brief story. So here's how it goes. Okay, so I have two friends. One's name is Rahul, and the other name is Vicky. Now Rahul and Vicky actually did engineering from the same college. They did MBA with me from the same college, and then they got placed in the same company. So, same engineering college, same master's college, and then got placed in the same company in the same profile itself. Okay, so Rahul Vicky. Now, here is a peculiar trait amongst both of them. Rahul is an average student. He scores around 60, 70s, and that's the range that he is always scoring, and that's how his performance is at the same point of time. On the other hand, we have Vicky. Now, Vicky is super intelligent. He's super smart. He can do all of his work in the best possible manner. But here's one thing. Vicky is not good at his communication skills. He just could not represent himself in the best possible manner. Whereas Rahul, on the other hand, although being an average student, he actually is a great communicator. He can put across his thoughts and ideas across the table in the best possible manner. So, comes the time of an appraisal. So an appraisal is basically that's what happens after 15 minutes, let's say after 6 months or 1 year, on an average 1 year for every company, where you have to appear for an interview again. Now, what happens in this appraisal interview is they ask you questions. So, what's your goal for the company in the next quarter, or how would you want to level up your skills such that it's beneficial for the company as well, so on and so forth. So, basically, a lot of questions are asked. Now comes the time of an interview. Okay, so Rahul went for the interview. Before that, Vicky actually went. So Vicky went for the interview, and Vicky was asked a set of questions. Now, what happened was Vicky, being not so good at his communication skills, his interview ended in just 10 minutes because he was not able to put forward his thoughts and ideas across the table. Now came the turn of Rahul. Rahul went to the interview. His interview actually went for 30 minutes. Yes, no kidding. 30 minutes. And once he's done, came the results. Okay. Now it's shocking to hear this. Now, again, let me go back. Vicky is someone who's very good at his academics, very good at his work, a high scorer. But Rahul was an average student. But Rahul was actually able to put forward his thoughts and ideas in the best possible manner. So, what actually happened was Vicky scored 8% of appraisal, whereas on the other hand, Rahul scored 18%. 8%, 18%. You can feel the difference, right? Well, that's the significance of proper communication. And a lot of people think, how can we achieve exponential growth with great communication skills? Well, here is an example. That's how you would able to be, you'd be able to ace every interview or every group discussion or every person interview with better communication skills. So let's go directly to the framework, group discussion. A lot of us are scared of group discussion because we think group discussion is something that requires a lot of public speaking skills, a lot of communication skills, and things like that. You know what? That's not the case. A group discussion is like a conversation. So is a personal interview, by the way. Now, first of all, point number one. Here's something I want to break. I want to break your mindset here. Understand it's a group discussion and not a group debate. Group discussion, group debate. That's what we are taught in our colleges, right? And that's something that we have faced back in my college days as well. What we used to do is we used to hover around each other in group discussion, yell at each other, shout at the top of our voices to prove our point. But that's not what a group discussion is all about. You are making it a group debate, not a group discussion. So you have to be very mindful of the fact. Here's point number one. How to break the mindset. Group discussion and not a group debate. Okay? You got this point? Super. Now, let's move around to the other point. So here's the thing. In a group discussion, and this comes from all the HR friends and all the HR executives that I've been speaking to across the years, is that a group discussion, the leaders, the HR people who would actually come to communicate with you, who would actually come to segregate with you, these people look for only two qualities. Yes, pay very close attention. They only look for these two qualities, and the number one quality is leadership skill, and the number two quality is your listening skill. Leadership skill and listening skill. Again, I'll reiterate the point, leadership skill and listening skill. Because what happens as we yell at each other, as we shout at the top of our voices, these two skills diminishes. And here is what you need to focus on. You need to focus on your leadership and your speaking and your listening skills. Now, you'd ask me, how do we do this? How do we actually put it forward in that manner? There's a mantra, and this is the mantra I have been teaching all the college students. They have been implementing, getting great results out of it. Okay, are you ready? Listen to this. Listen, acknowledge, add value. Listen, acknowledge, add value. I'm going to repeat it again so that it gets imprinted in your brain. Listen, acknowledge, add value. Here's an example. So let's say you are in a group discussion, and I'm just using this example so that you get a better idea of how things are going to work out. Now, you are in a group discussion, all right, and there is a fellow individual who is speaking. Now, you want to showcase your leadership and your speaking and your listening skills. I'm so sorry, I came up with the speaking word dummy. So listening skills. So what you need to do whenever he or she finishes a point, here's something that you need to do. You've got to acknowledge the point. Okay? Before acknowledging, sorry, you got to listen to the point. You got to listen to the point first, very carefully. And how do you do that? You can only acknowledge if you listen to it carefully. So let's say they have thrown a point, okay? You know what? This is something that we need to do, and I think the Indian economy is going in a very different manner, and we need to do so and so things that might help to increase our GDP, okay? And if you listen to the point, now comes your turn, okay? Now you want to speak. So what do you do when you speak? Here's what you do. You just don't listen to it, but you add value to it first. So you listen, now you add value. Okay, yeah, you know what? Your point was super valid. Here is a very valid point that you have raised that our GDP is pretty much inclined to so and so things. But however, I want to add a few pointers to it. Then you put forward your point to it, not by saying, okay, okay, yeah, that's what you said, but hear me out, listen to me carefully. That's not what you do. That's disrespectful. That's not showcasing of your listening skills. That's not showcasing of your leadership skills. You don't do that. So again, listen, acknowledge, and add value. You have to focus on that, and only then people will be able to understand, or the panel will understand that okay, here's an individual who has good listening skills, and here's an individual who has good uh, leadership skills as well. And this is something that you need to do in every group discussion. You got to focus, you got to let others speak, you got to put forward your points as well. Just give me one specific, just give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. I had a bad net connection. Yep. So again, uh, listen, acknowledge, and add value. Okay. Here are three things that you need to do. Now, another point, the fourth point where we want to touch it is you got to showcase your leadership skills as well, right? What else you can do to showcase your leadership skills? Number one, you've got to conclude or you've got to start the conversation. So what you do is whenever you're starting a group discussion, you actually can start by asking for everyone's permission, with the permission of the panel members and with the permission of the group. I would like to take the opportunity to start the group discussion. Here, you've initiated the group discussion. Here, people are actually, your courage is actually visible here. That you're not scared, you're confident here, and you have a spontaneous response to whatever comes across you. So here is where you have put forward your leadership skills as well. So here's one thing that you definitely need to do is that you need, or I am now. I will not say that you need to do. However, you can take the opportunity to give an edge to yourself. You start the entire group discussion. Also, another thing is you can also conclude the group discussion. Once everything is done, you actually can take the opportunity to conclude as well. And here is what you need to do when you are concluding a group discussion. You have to keep in mind everybody else's, you know, value points. Let's say there are five individuals in the group. What you can do is, I would like to conclude the group discussion by mentioning his point as a value add to it, her point as a value add to it, and then you have taken everyone's point, summarized it at one, and then put it forward. This shows your clear leadership skills. This shows that you are not just someone who's there to speak, but you are there to do your teamwork. You are there to take your entire team collectively. You are there with everybody else together. And this is what you need to do. These are four things that you definitely should do in every group discussion that you come across. Implement them, and I'm pretty sure that you will ace every group discussion coming your way. So I hope that was very valuable to you. Again, let's move on to the next point. But before that, if you have any questions, please feel free to write in the comments section because we need to understand that whether you are getting exactly what I'm trying to convey or not. And if there are any specific questions, I am more than happy to answer all of those. And here's one thing. If there is something that's beyond it as well and you want to connect with me personally, feel free to reach me out over my Instagram profile. Okay, great. Now let's move on to another point, which is the final and super important, which is your personal interview. A lot of people are scared of it because it is a one-on-one interaction, and people are pretty much scared, and it is actually gruesome for a lot of people because they're not able to face people correctly. Here's a framework that I'm gonna give you that you need to follow in every group, in every personal interview, so that you ace every personal interview coming your way. Number one point: knock, greet, and do not sit unless you are asked to. Knock, greet, and don't sit unless you are asked to. So this actually represents your respect towards the company as well as towards the panel as well. People are actually more willing to speak to you if you show them respect. So that's what you do. A lot of people go to an interview and they just sit there. Well, you shouldn't be doing that. You actually have to pay close attention, that you respect them, and you wait till they allow you to sit there. Point number two, always do your homework. Never go to an interview without doing your homework. Now, here's something that I feel, or I have encountered a lot of times, is that you know I want to. Once I was appearing for an interview, I actually was given a check that okay, so and so individual is taking your interview. I'm like, okay, super cool. And then comes a time when I actually gone through. I went to his LinkedIn profile and I checked it out, and then I knew that okay, our passions matches a bit, our academic qualification also matches. So why not speak about it? So as I've done the research about the company and the homework on the specific individual, I was able to initiate small talks in the communication. I was able to have a conversation rather than having or giving an examination. And this built a friendly and casual communication, which led me speak better, and land up in that specific job. So this is something that you need to do. Always do your homework. The third thing is make sure your body language is aligned with things that you are there for. What do I mean by this is you shouldn't be sitting there like this. You know, you shouldn't be like this. Yeah. Okay, tell me. Now, what impression is given to all of you who are listening to me right now? That I don't want to speak to you. I'm closed. It's a closed body language. People don't want to communicate to you. You've got to have an open body language. You've got to have your shoulders wide open. You've got to have your, hands open. You should not be sitting with your legs crossed because you need to send them the psychological message that you are open to communicate. You are open to speak. You are open to answer all the questions that's coming your way. And only then the interviewers would actually be more inclined to speak to you. Let's stick around to the fourth point. The fourth point is we all have our strengths and weaknesses, right? Here's what you need to do. You've got to put forward your strengths with examples. Don't just say, I'm good at teamwork. Nah, it won't work. You've got to communicate. You've got to tell them what you have done that represents that you are a good team player. So here are the things that you do. You always go back and check out for stories where you have represented your teamwork. Now it can be in a club event. It can be in a social gathering. It can be in your class activities. It can be anything for that matter. But when you're presenting out the fact that you are good at teamwork, you've got to put that idea forward by an example, not just by speaking it out, but by letting them know that you have already done. So always play around with your strengths with your stories behind, with your examples in it. Okay. So let's conclude with the final point. The final point is do not, please, do not false praise about yourself because there are high chances that you might fall into the trap and they might ask you questions which you are not aware of. So these are the things that, in a very brief notice that you can do and you can leverage your communication skills to crack every interviews coming your way. Thank you so much for watching me. My name is Nizam Baruah, and I hope to connect with all of you again.